After the death of his affluent father, a pampered young man realizes that the life of luxury he had always assumed was his birthright is no longer within his grasp. Upon receiving a letter from his late father, he discovers shocking revelations about his life that had remained hidden from him until now. Jason Kilmer loved his life. He was the first to admit he had it easy. He was handsome, athletic, talented, and he had a rich dad. Anything he wanted he got, any problem he had went away. Jace, as his friends called him, was one of those lucky few who knew what life had in store for him. He'd coast through college, get a cushy job at one of his father's enterprises, and rake in a fat salary for doing nothing. But Jace was wrong. Things fell apart when Jace's father died in a helicopter crash when he was in his first year of college. Jace was devastated. He loved his dad, a kind, tolerant man who'd indulged him and made the consequences of his mistakes disappear. Yes, he was going to miss his dad, but at least he had the money and the huge house in the Palisades. Jace believed he was going to be a very rich man, and that translated into a lot of partying and good times. But he was in for a surprise. His father's lawyer summoned him for the reading of the will, and Jace was surprised to see another man there. He stared at the stranger. What was he doing here? Mr. Murray, who had been his father's attorney for over 20 years, said, "Jason, your father disposed of his estate in a very unusual way. He asked us to read the dispositions of the will and then give you a letter." Jace nodded and waited. Then Mr. Murray said, "Your father has left the entirety of his estate to your half-brother, Terrence, except an amount set aside to cover your education." "What? What brother?" Jace gasped. Mr. Murray indicated the man sitting quietly next to Jace. "Mr. Terrence Hessing is your father's natural son. Mr. Kilmer only became aware of his existence 6 months ago."
Also, if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these animal stories every day. Now, back to the story.
That's impossible." Jace gasped. "He would have told me." Terrence shook his head. "He and I were still trying to build a relationship," he said. "I have to tell you, I was very bitter. My life was very hard growing up. I was very angry with him." "And now that you have his money, all is forgiven?" asked Jace sarcastically. Mr. Murray handed Jace an envelope. "Your father left this for you, Jason. I believe it explains everything." Jace tore open the envelope and started reading. "Dear Jason, first of all, I want you to know how much I've loved you, my son, and that I know I've failed you as a father. I've sheltered and cherished you and protected you all your life, but the more I've given, the less you appreciated all you have. It's time to grow up, and it's time I did right by you and your brother Terrence. I only learned about Terrence 2 months ago. I had a brief relationship with his mother, and she never told me about him. He grew up without all the benefits and privileges you had, and he's made a good life for himself. I've decided you should have the same opportunity. Since you've received all my love, it's only fair that your brother should get all my money. I love you, son. I hope you make the most of this opportunity. Love, Dad." Jace crumpled up the letter and screamed, "What is this? Is this a joke? An opportunity? I'm left with nothing. Not a cent. How am I supposed to live? I have no money." Terrence was shaking his head sadly. "What are you complaining about? Your whole life you've had a father who adored you. Money? You can always make money. But that kind of love is something you can't buy." Jace was chastened. He went back to college and threw himself into his studies. He knew he'd have to work hard and build a life for himself, make a man of himself, a good man like his father had been. This story teaches us 2 important lessons. Firstly, it warns us against assuming the outcomes of situations before they have actually occurred. Jace's presumption that he would inherit his father's wealth led him to become complacent and not work hard in life, which ultimately led to his downfall. Secondly, it highlights the value and significance of parental love, which is an invaluable gift that should not be taken for granted. Jace had everything he could want, but he failed to appreciate the love that his father had given him.